Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Graz. Today I'm going to be talking all about Colossi Modules. Colossi is not something I know too much about. It came into the game when I was taking a break, but modules are really important. They have a Patron effect and they have a Colossi effect. Personally, I'm not too concerned about the Colossi effect. Colossi is not something I'm massively interested in, but the Patron bonuses can be really important. So first things to say, I'm not going to go into it in too much detail, but you need 6 of the same type, and there's 6 different unique chips, and they're kind of hard to tell which one's which. You got to look, I guess, where there's the little gappy bit. So anyway, there's 8 for melee units and 8 for ranged units, so there's 16 in total. So I'm not going to go into depth about each one individually. I've put together a little tier list based on the Patron effect and the Colossi effect. Because we can only have up to 3 patrons and there's 5 Colossi in the squad, there's still going to be 2 that you're going to want to have modules for that you want a good Colossi effect on. Okay, so here is my tier list as I've put it together, and this is all based on my opinion. I don't think there's any right or wrong answers here. There are things in the game that I value much higher than certain other people will, and it also kind of depends on your build. Some of these abilities are going to work better for infantry or chemists or rangers and vice versa. So the way I've ordered it is, at the top, if both abilities between the Patron and the Colossi are really good, then that's at the top, and at the bottom, if both abilities are rubbish, they're right at the bottom. The middle is dependent on how good primarily the Patron ability is versus the Colossi ability. I'll start by going through the 3 that I have at the very bottom, which I don't think are particularly good. Number 1, the Nurse set. I thought this might have some potential because it's got healing, and my squad's got a lot of healing going on at the moment. But if I'm reading this correctly, when taking damage, allied units have a, let's say, 14% chance to restore health equal to 135% of the damage taken. So at 14%, this is like 1 in 7. So you've got to receive 7 attacks before you can heal any, theoretically. And if it's just a base attack, then 135% of that is not going to be too much. So I really wish that was good, but I don't think it is going to be good. And on the Colossi side, it's based on dodge, so straight away that's a no from me. Number 2, the Psychopath set. Once in a while, all enemies take physical damage for each debuff. Armor is, everybody's got a lot of armor now, so physical damage is not going to be too great, to be honest, especially not at 65,000, even though it's to all enemies, and it's for each debuff they've cast. So some units aren't going to cast any debuff, so again, that's not one that I'm looking for. And the Colossi ability, again, will be largely based on dodge, so it's not something I'm looking for. Number 3, the Hunter set. Every 5 seconds, all stats of a random unit increase by 10% for 5 seconds. So, yeah, I mean, I don't have to explain that one. And so the Colossi abilities that are based on the genotype effect, I'm not a big fan of those either, because it takes so long before the genotype effect happens. Most Colossi battles, especially in wars, are really quick. So by the time that even gets close to casting, it's going to be over. Moving on, gonna look at the 3 in the middle now, where both abilities are okay. And starting off with the Forklift set. So I'm going to read this through. Right, once in a while, for 10 seconds, when infantrymen deal damage with an attack or ability, the target takes an extra 169,000 pure damage. The effect triggers up to once per second. So this one I think could be really interesting, and it depends on what infantry you've got. So the effect's going to last for 10 seconds. If you've got all 6 are legendary, the effect's going to last for 10 seconds, which if you've got, say, Hitman, which attacks very fast, so once per second, that's going to do a lot of extra damage. So it says the effect triggers up to once per second. It doesn't really tell you what the cooldown time is there. It kind of seems like there's no cooldown time. So again, if you've got Hitman, that single unit's gonna do a lot of damage. If you're using 2 infantry or maybe even 3 infantry, you could do a whole lot more damage there. So that is a really strong ability potentially. If you've only got, say, 1 infantry unit and it's got like a club or an axe, very slow attack type, it's not going to do too much extra damage although those tank units are not there specifically to do damage. So again, that's one that really depends on your squad, but that's a very, very strong ability. In terms of the Colossus attack, the ability there, that also does a bit of area damage, but again, this is for a melee unit, so it depends if you're using melee units on your Colossi and what melee units you're against, because chances are you're using one melee, if any, and by the time it gets to the ranged units, it might already be dead. But that, again, that is quite a strong ability in my opinion. The three-faced set, so when an ally deals 200,000 damage, their damage is increased by 25% and chemistry knowledge by 30% for 6 seconds, stacks up to 3 times. So this is any ally, and this is going to work on all units, right? Infantry, chems, rangers, so that potentially could be really strong. If you've got a unit that's going to do a lot of damage, then that you're going to get those 3 stacks probably. It doesn't seem to have an introductory cooldown when an ally deals damage, and there's no mention of a real cooldown. I'm guessing as it can stack up to 3 times within 6 seconds, there probably isn't any cooldown on it. The Colossi ability, when taking damage, the Colossi has 40% chance to restore health of 70% of its own damage. That seems pretty good to me. And when taking damage, has a chance to reduce the damage. So yeah, again, not amazing, but pretty good, pretty solid abilities there. Headless Builder set. Once in a while, all effects reduce the healing, are removed from the allies and become immune to those effects for 5 seconds. Additionally, the healing of these units received is increased by 40% for 5 seconds. I think this ability is quite strong, as most squads will have at least 4 chems in them, and a lot of the devices and bracelets will have healing abilities on them. On the opposite side of that, there's also a lot of burning effects which reduce healing. So this will trigger pretty much instantly once the once in a while period is over. In terms of the Colossus ability, also has a chance to restore health on a random ally based on the attack. When restoring health to ally Colossi, Modular has a 75% chance to gain a shield. It absorbs damage, and again, when the health drops lower, it increases the physical and chemical defense. So pretty strong there. Again, like I say, it's middle tier. The ability is quite good for both Patron and Colossus. Another healing ability then on the Crystalline Individual set, and once in a while all squad units restore 12% of their max health. This has the potential to be really strong in my opinion, but it depends how quick that once in a while timer is. For the record, not all once in a while periods are the same. It's usually about 4 or 5, 6 seconds, something like this. So it can make a big difference that all your units are going to get quite a hefty boost of their health restored. Moving on to the top 3 then, and in a tier of its own, I have the Firefighter set. And I have the Firefighter set by itself because, in my opinion, I think if you have 1 or more infantryman, this is not going to be so good. I looked at it, and for me, the first thing I thought was, if you've got Grim Undertaker, this is probably the melee Colossus Patron ability that you want to use. And finally, the top 2 modules are the Cryo Zombie set for melee and the Toxin set for ranged. So when looking at the melee Colossus, the Cryo Zombie set is number 1 for me. I think when you look at the abilities on both sides, you've got an increase to health, max health at the start of the battle for 17 seconds as well. That's a really good period of time. And the Colossus abilities are all to do with health and healing and things like that. So for me, it's a really, really strong module set. And the number 1 range set is the Toxin set. At the start of the battle, damage to all enemies is increased by 45% for 14 seconds. So you can see there the top 2 for me, both at the start of the battle, they last for 14 and 17 seconds, and they give you a guaranteed increase. I'm not looking for any kind of randomness or random unit or on the chance of this, the chance of that. Both of these abilities for the Toxin and the Cryo Zombie both start at the beginning of the battle, and they're going to give your squad a really big healthy boost. Okay, that's going to do it for this video. If you found it useful, please subscribe to the channel, like the video. As always, leave any comments and questions you have below, and if there's anything you want to see a video on, please let me know. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you again soon. Bye bye.